As February 5th approaches, league executives are quietly acknowledging something important. Boston is not chasing headlines. Boston is chasing leverage. While rival front offices scramble for flashy names, the Celtics are probing a different angle, one that could quietly reshape the playoff rotation without sacrificing future flexibility. Sources around the league confirm Boston is deeply involved in conversations for frontcourt help, but not in the obvious way fans expect. This is not a reckless hunt for a star center. This is a surgical evaluation of value, timing, and postseason usefulness. And that is where Yves Missi enters the picture. Missi is not the name dominating social media debates, and that is exactly why Brad Stevens is listening. The Pelicans' big man has become one of the most quietly contested assets on the market, with 7 teams sniffing around the same profile: athletic, active, defensively disruptive, and most importantly, affordable in a cap environment that punishes mistakes. Here is the tension nobody is talking about. Boston does not need more scoring. It needs possessions, extra rebounds, second chances, physical answers when games slow down, and every miss becomes a potential season turning point. Missi delivers that specific chaos. 3 offensive rebounds per game is not a stat that trends on highlight reels, but it decides playoff series. There is also a financial chess match happening behind closed doors. Boston is above the luxury tax, yet refuses to operate from a position of fear. Anthony Simons remains a productive piece, not a salary dump. Attaching draft capital just to save money would signal panic, and Boston is doing the opposite. The front office is daring the market to blink first. What makes this pursuit fascinating is the flexibility it preserves. Missi is locked into a rookie scale deal that barely dents future cap planning. No long-term clog, no emergency exits, just controlled upside. In a league where contenders often mortgage tomorrow, Boston is asking a sharper question. What if the smartest upgrade is the one that keeps the door open? The Pelicans want a first-round pick. Boston does not flinch. History shows that deadlines rewrite leverage fast. Teams get desperate, prices soften. Behind the scenes, before most fans even sensed movement, the Celtics were presented with a deal that looked clean on paper and tempting on a spreadsheet. Chicago offered Nikola Vucevic. The ask was Anthony Simons, plus a first-round pick. Money would drop, luxury tax pressure would ease, headlines would right themselves. And yet Boston walked away. Why does that matter so much? Because contenders usually blink when tax math starts screaming. Boston did not. Instead, the front office made a statement without issuing one publicly. This was not the upgrade they were waiting for. League insiders quietly acknowledged that this rejection was not about Vucevic alone. It was about standards. Boston is evaluating this deadline through a playoff lens that most teams do not use. The question is not who helps in February. The question is who survives May possessions. When the spacing collapses, switches are hunted, and every defensive weakness is amplified. Vucevic brings scoring touch and experience, but Boston saw the pressure points others tried to ignore. Age matters when defenses are hunted, possession after possession. Contract timing matters when a player can walk months later. And draft capital matters when flexibility is the real currency of contenders. Here is the uncomfortable truth for rival teams. Boston values Simons more than the league expected, not as a trade chip, but as a stabilizer. His bench impact has reshaped second units, tilted momentum, and allowed the coaching staff to manage minutes without panic. Giving that up for short-term relief would have been a gamble disguised as safety. There is also a deeper layer to this decision. Boston is not searching for competence. They are searching for durability. Someone who can be played off the floor less often than the opponent expects. Someone whose presence does not force schematic compromises in high-leverage minutes. Turning down Vucevic sends a clear signal. If Boston moves a first-round pick, it will be for control, upside, and postseason adaptability, not for a temporary patch, not for tax avoidance, not for a name that solves one problem while creating 2 more. Boston said no again, and this refusal might reveal more about the Celtics' future than any trade they eventually approve. While rumors swirl and the deadline creeps closer, One detail has quietly reshaped how rival executives view Boston. The Celtics were offered a clear path to land a proven two-time All-Star. The cost was manageable, the tax relief was real, the name recognition was obvious. Yet Brad Stevens shut the door without hesitation. Nikola Vucevic was presented as an option early in the season, long before Boston climbed near the top of the East. Chicago was willing to talk. The framework was simple: Anthony Simons plus a first-round pick. On the surface, it looked like a veteran upgrade, and a financial reset rolled into one move. Boston disagreed. This decision was not about disrespecting Vucevic's talent. It was about understanding timing and risk. Boston evaluated the move through a playoff microscope, not a regular season lens. A center on an expiring deal at age 35 forces questions that contenders hate answering in June. Who closes games? Who survives defensive targeting? Who justifies the loss of long-term assets? Here is where the story gets uncomfortable for the rest of the league. Boston believes Simons matters more than outside perception suggests. His value is not in box scores, but in control. Control of pace, control of bench units, control of momentum swings that decide series margins. Removing that stability for a short-term interior option would have been trading certainty for hope. The same mindset explains why earlier talks for Ivica Zubac stalled. Boston explored it aggressively when the Clippers were spiraling. The offer was real. The interest was serious. The refusal forced Boston to pivot, not panic. That matters. Now the market looks different. Teams are tighter. Prices are shifting. And Boston still holds its leverage. Names like Daniel Gafford, Yves Missi, and Ron Sharpe keep surfacing not because Boston is desperate, but because the Celtics are filtering for adaptability, cost control, and postseason survivability. Long before Los Angeles stabilized its season, Boston quietly explored a framework to land Ivica Zubac. Not a casual check-in, not a speculative feeler. This was a serious probe built around Anthony Simons' salary, a first-round pick, and a future pick swap. That level of commitment exposes intent. Boston was ready to strike if the window opened. It never did, and that matters. At the time of those talks, the Clippers were buried near the bottom of the standings, spiraling at 6 wins and 21 losses. That is the exact moment smart front offices test resolve. Boston saw an opportunity to align timeline, contract value, and postseason fit in one move. Zubac checked boxes that rarely align. 28 years old, durable, physically reliable, locked into a contract that does not suffocate future flexibility. This was not desperation. This was vision. The deal stalled because Los Angeles recovered faster than anyone predicted. 16 wins in 19 games changed everything. Suddenly, Zubac was no longer an expendable asset. He became structural. The door closed, but the attempt itself sent a message across the league. Boston is willing to move early, willing to use Simons' salary as a tool, not a liability, willing to attach real draft value when the return shifts playoff math. That matters because it reframes how rival teams approach negotiations. The Celtics are not shopping leftovers. They are hunting fit. Simons' role in this story is crucial. Many expected his expiring deal to be treated as dead weight. Instead, his recent play has altered leverage. Productive bench scoring, controlled usage, and reliability have turned his contract into something flexible, rather than desperate. Boston no longer needs to pay to move him. That alone reshapes deadline dynamics. What gets lost in surface analysis is how disciplined Boston has been. They did not force the Zubac deal when traction vanished. They did not escalate offers out of fear. They pivoted. That is the difference between contenders who survive deadlines and those who regret them.